Blog Talk Radio.
Live from Washington, D.C., it's Quintessential Listening, Poetry Online Radio. Now, here's your host, Dr. Michael Anthony Ingram.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. My special guest tonight is accomplished poet Jamey Boelhower. Jamey and I have talked before about the art and craft of poetry, so our view tonight has been a continuation of that conversation. Jamey, welcome to the program again.
Hi, good evening, Dr. Ingram. It's good to be with you again.
Hello, sir. Hello. How are you tonight?
Oh, doing good.
I'm glad. You know, I've thought about our conversation, the conversation that we had before, and I was wondering, my friend, wondering whether you'd answer the following question for me.
Okay.
All right. You are, as I stated, an accomplished poet. If you could tell your younger writing self anything, what would it be? Your younger writing self.
At the moment, I would say that to expand your knowledge of poetic forms and different writers, and to work on your skills of writing instead of relying so much just on raw emotion.
Tell me about that, because I would think that emotions are so important. Why shouldn't you rely on them?
My younger self, or my early writing and stuff, did come, from a place where lots of poets and spoken word artists and stuff deal, with life issues and things. But lately, and honestly, in the last 2 years, and the pandemic kind of influenced some of this because we had some more time, is that I actually really started learning about all the different forms and cultures that went with them. And when I did that, and one of the things I did, I challenged myself to write a new poem in 100 different forms. So I had 100 new poems, all based off of new forms that I taught myself about. And I'll be honest, I probably, through that process, learned more about poetry and the power of words and rhyming patterns and cadence and things like that than I did when I was younger. And in some ways, I think some of my poetry is better now because I don't just rely on just raw emotion and just trying to get my voice across and to heck with what anybody thinks, and understand that the reader is a part of the bridge of poetry. And sometimes a form or a rhyming pattern delivers the message better than just raw emotion. Okay, I like that. 100 different forms. Yes. Yep. It took me probably about 8 months to do it. But yeah, I wrote a new poem in a new form, and 100 of them.
Which of those forms really stuck with you?
Well, actually, I have an unpublished poem that I wanted to actually read tonight that is in the form of a breath double, if I said that correctly. It's a small form. I also really enjoyed like the golden shovel form. That is where
yes, I've heard of the golden shovel. Yes.
Yeah, and that was a fun form to use. The breath double. It is a French poetic form. It's only like 14 lines. So it was such a learning experience and such a fun challenge. And in a way, I wish somehow somebody would have tapped my shoulder when I was younger and said there's more to poetry than just your raw emotion.
Yes, I understand now. I understand. Well, without further ado, please share some of your work.
All right. To start, I think I actually have a golden shovel example that is from my challenge, and the title of the poem is Why Poetry, and this is after Langston Hughes's poem.
So before we begin, what exactly is the golden shovel form?
The golden shovel form, you use a line or two from another poem, and the end word of my poem is, if you read it down, would be the line that comes from Langston Hughes. Kind of after each little pause, and you might be able to hear which one, but I think when I get to the end of this poem, I'll read to recognize the line that I used from Langston Hughes. So the title of the poem is Why Poetry, and this is after Langston Hughes. Even in the darkest moments I hold a pen with a fire to capture the fast and fleeting muse that commands my mind to fill the spaces between walking and dreams. The strokes of ink are arrows, hoping for the gods, for the titans to reveal if I am worthy to mix a life with dreams, or if words stay in my mouth when I die. Each step I take is a verse of my life that I write with rhyme sometimes. Breathing is a pact between impossible and a faith in flight. My heart can be broken-winged, but poetry sets me free like a bird. No matter the hue of the moment that spurs my mind, these words, windows that cannot close, allows my muse open lines to fly. And then obviously, if you know Langston Hughes, the line is, hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly. And so that's a golden shovel form.
That was beautiful, my friend.
Well, thank you.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Please share another.
Yeah, this one, like we were talking about, this is actually unpublished. This is nowhere to be found. This is, in a sense, a world premiere of this poem.
I like those. All right.
And so this is a breath double, if I said that right, because it's a French poetic form that has 3 quatrains and a final couplet. Walking in a park, middle of summer, the sky is blue and so is the lake. The crowns of the trees are full, each with their own hue of green. The walking path takes me under a row of trees, the breeze making the leaves rustle, a push and pull with the sunlight. I count 14 different species, each their own colored designed leaf. Elm, oak, ash break against the clouds. A handful of evergreens fill in the scene. I ponder how each tree is a wonder, no jealousy of another's namesake. Each reaches for the sun, its wood sturdy and sure, no hate between them. I wonder if it would be good if people lived with nature's sheen.
Wow.
And so,
I like that too.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow.
And that one, like I said, the breath double is a fun one, and that is one that this summer I was inspired, walking, and as we've dealt in our culture a little bit of the divides, so many divides that we have, the park and the trees just kind of spurred this thought. And then when I sat down, again, that form just kind of called and said, I think the message would work well, in this form.
Wow. You are a writer.
Thank you.
Give us one more.
All right. So this one is a little bit more of, I would say, not my younger style exactly, but it doesn't have a form, but it's built off of a metaphor, and it's called Pride, in parentheses, to my children. I know. Believe me, I know. My mane may be peppered, scar-filled fur, yellow teeth dull, legs ache. I've roamed these plains until my paws broke open and bled. I know of hunger, drought, cloudless heat. I've been in battles where I've been one against numbers. I know. But you, my pride, need to know that as you move silent in the tall grass, stalking your place in this savanna, roaring your existence at dawn, that hyenas will come. 1 or 2 or 20. They will come. They will circle. They will laugh. They will attack. That is the law of the land. Know that you must fight through the bites, scratches, and bruises, but hold on. Fight with every breath, tooth, and claw. Fight until you hear my roar. Know that I will join you in battle, too, against all. And actually, it's not a form, but built off of a metaphor.
Yes. What does being creative mean to you? Because you're very creative. To a degree, I think that really being creative is actually being courageous to go with the inspiration, the muse, the idea that you have. Sadly, to a degree, I think lots of people have art inside of them, ideas inside of them, and for whatever reason, lots of different reasons that people just don't have the courage to go ahead and step with that idea, step with that urge to write a poem or to paint a picture or, to go ahead and invent something. And I think creativity is taking that spark and having the courage to go ahead and run with it. And, I have poems that are not that good. And I think I have some poems that are pretty solid, but if I don't take the courage to write them, they're never there. And so, well, think about this. Here's a good question for you as well. What's the best advice you've ever had about becoming more creative? Has anyone ever talked to you about creativity for you to say, yes, I want to follow that advice? That's good advice. I like the courageous part. I really like that.
Okay, this is going to be odd. I'm going to say no, but I'm going to say that people, though a select few, have believed in me, and that gave me the courage to step forward. And sometimes that's what, kind of what we need at times.
Yes.
And so the advice on, how to write poems or to, spur my creativity and stuff, I would say I've not had any solid advice about that. In my younger, especially high school and junior high, I just had, a teacher, especially, that just basically said, wow, you're pretty cool. I like what you're trying to do here. And that spurred enough courage to continue. And, I kind of just keep that in mind. And obviously through the years, other people have stepped in and played other kind of roles that help support.
Oh, wow. Very nice. Some more poetry from you, Jamey, please.
All right. This one is from my book, April 2020. Writer's Digest does every April is Poetry Month and does a poetry, prompt every day. And this was during, obviously, the pandemic, and my school went to remote learning, and so I started walking every day. And this was the first day of that writing challenge, and I was on a walk, and then this actually ended up being my first poem in my book called April 2020, a poetic time capsule of writing and living during the pandemic. This is called To the Old Man Gardening During the Pandemic. It is April 1st, 2020. This is no joke, though. It's late morning, and I am walking for the 9th day in a row. You are sitting on a yellow bucket, sleeveless black puffer jacket, dark brown button-down work shirt, brown pants, and a black flat cap on your head. The lines on your face show the years like a tree stump. The trowel in your hand moves slowly, clearing away dead leaves, turning up soil. A few purple tulips dot the garden. By summer, your garden will be in full color, but for now, there's work to be done. We nod hello quickly. I've got earbuds in and a black hoodie on. I don't know your age, but you are old enough to have gone through the Great Depression, 2 world wars, Black Monday, 9/11, and now this moment in history. As I turn the corner heading home, I wonder how many times you've seen the sky fall. How did you deal with each fear? What losses did you endure? I do not resist the urge to look back. You are moving the yellow bucket a few feet to the left, bending down, you clear more dead debris, working the topsoil for the flowers to come. I smile as I consider how much of your old world is just the same as this new world. And that was again, the first poem in that book, April 2020.
How long did it take you to write that particular book?
That book is a little bit different. It's every poem that I wrote for the month of April. But I decided to kind of do, if you remember, VH1 used to have Storyteller, where the musician would come.
I do.
Yeah. So I decided to actually talk and share that day, like what was going through my head, a little inspiration, for people who want to write. And so the book itself is all 30 poems. But after each poem, I kind of tell the story, behind it and why I chose sometimes a verse or, I just kind of told the story. And it kind of ended up, as we were dealing with the pandemic at that time and then just starting into our social change and the death of Floyd and, our society coming to grips with a lot of things, it really is kind of a very unique just moment captured from my perspective, obviously, and through the poems. So it took a little bit of time, but as an indie author, I kind of had it up and ready to go after a couple of months. It was a fun challenge in that regard, but also an emotional one, just in that sense of dealing, raising 6 kids, trying to still be a teacher,
yes,
trying to understand how the pandemic was going to pan out and affect us all.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny. I commend you for raising 6 kids. That's the biggest one. But I was going to ask you whether you felt that book was cathartic or not.
Yes, a little bit. To be honest, just being with my family, and in one way, there was actually some good things I think happened, but in that sense of being home, being with, my oldest son came back from college, obviously, and we were together. That probably was what actually got us through that time, in a sense, more than my poetry did, to be honest.
Hey, I understand that. That makes a lot of sense. Give me 2 more poems, my friend.
All right. Well, we'll stay a little bit with, as we're talking about family. This is called Dancing Flowers, and this is from a very early collection of poetry from my years. It is late summer Sunday morning, cool breeze, warm sun. My youngest daughters play on the back patio in their PJs. Pink and green flash across the patio door. I join them, sitting on the steps with a cup of coffee. Look at this, Daddy. A rock, a blade of grass in their hands. Watch this, Daddy. As they run, as they jump in the grass, they begin to dance. The sun shines into my eyes. I have to squint to see them, but I swear, if flowers could move, they would dance like my daughters. So, and that's an early, but that's one of those moments. I was there. I don't remember how I scratched that out on paper or something, but that was just a moment, and it was so poetic. It was so just powerful as a dad that I got that one scratched down.
That one made me smile. I really liked it.
So this next one is actually from the same book, but this one's a little bit personal, kind of dealing with my past and why I think I care so much about being a dad and stuff like that, because it deals with a little bit, you'll be able to tell, with my relationship to a degree with my own father. So the poem is called A Fading Photo. You are kneeling down with a 2-year-old version of me, standing in front of you, grasping your left wrist with one hand and your right hand in the other. A wedding ring reflecting back, but the love would soon lose its spark. I wonder what you did with the ring once you started your new family. We are both smiling, cheeks puffy, high on our cheekbones. I don't recognize myself. The little one in the picture is a spitting image of my second son. Looking at the picture, I recognize the hollow echo of pain when I concentrate on your smile. I had never seen this picture of us until today. A picture from the 70s, no filter needed. It is a beautiful moment of a happy father and son. I wonder when you really let go of my hand, because I feel like I've been walking alone since I was born. But the picture shows me holding on to you like any son would, like any son should in this world, because we might stumble and fall. But I've walked myself to this moment, some hard roads traveled, stumbled and fell, treaded so many miles I've forgotten where I started. Until today. Until I saw this fading photo of a father kneeling and a son standing in front of him, grasping his hand for support so that I wouldn't stumble and fall.
Wow. That was so powerful and touching.
Thank you, Dr.
I was there. I was there. Wow. Let's take a brief break, and we'll be right back. Jamey Boelhower. You know, Jamey, my aversion to answering questions is world famous.
Yes, I can tell you're not letting me slip in my question.
And I had to really think why I don't like answering questions.
Oh, why?
And I finally realized is that I don't feel smart enough to answer them. Because I'm not trained in poetry, I don't have an MFA. I know what I know. I just feel like, what could I contribute to the canon? You know? So when people ask me questions, I'll say, no. What do you think?
But you have such a vast experience and connection with so many different poets within the podcast, and just the different range of people you have talked to, and maybe, you know, like, you don't write exactly. I think your knowledge and your heart, it would actually be a contribution, you know, and especially, you know, in that sense of what you have learned about poetry. You know, what do you, what have you discovered? What have you felt? You know, what has poetry been, you know, in regard for you in this adventure with your podcast?
Right. And what's so funny is that I've been in the poetry business for over 30 years. You know, I've done all kinds of things.
Yeah.
But when I talk about it with people like yourself, when I ask the question, what is poetry, I stumble. But because it's you, I wrote down my own definition of what is poetry.
Okay, awesome.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I am ready.
All right. I said, it's an amalgamation of words, phrases, rhythms, and sounds joined together to create a message that is beamed out to the universe.
Ooh. To the universe. I love that.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, I worked on it. I knew that you were going to call in tonight, so I worked on it. Well, these messages, because I ask people every week.
Yep.
My 200th guest is coming up in a couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah.
So I've asked 200 people, what is poetry? What is poetry? You would think I would need to know as well what it is.
I think because the part that, as you were talking about, like, from the teacher perspective, the first part of your answer is like, yes, that's the art form of it, you know, the rhythm, the rhymes, the metaphors and all that. And then, but I think you hit a truth in that regard of both the thing that makes us sometimes feel small is the universe, but what gives us power is that our words, your connections with people and stuff like that are in the universe, and you honestly never truly know what moment, what word, what in your case, your wonderful laugh touches upon somebody and changes their universe that one moment. And we never know that. We never know that. That's so crazy when you think of that. And, the art form, poetry, somebody somewhere might listen to this, in a month, and we'll never know. But yet we've done it. We've sent that message out there. And it's incredible to think about.
Yeah. I really hadn't thought about it that way either, to be honest. So thank you. Now let's go back to you. Let's focus back on you, Jamey. Let's focus back on you. I've bared enough of my soul tonight. It's time for you again to be back in the spotlight.
Yeah, I do say thank you. I appreciate it. I have enjoyed your work and stuff. And it honestly, just to expand, that I reached out to you. You remember, because your voice and your show and stuff was there, and it's we're kind of a perfect example of that sense. Like, I would have never really reached out if you hadn't presented your show, your personality, even, and your laughter and stuff, and just made a wave in my own little universe. So here we are.
Oh, wow. That's nice. I like hearing that. I really do. I'm going through a lot, so I like hearing that. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, that's enough of that.
Okay.
Now, back to you. Give me some poems.
Okay. Since we kind of dealt with the last one, I'm going to read from my new book, These Words Believe in Ghosts. And this one deals with my history. So in my newest collection, and the poem is called They Say. They say that your relationship with your father is the foundation of your belief in God. My God is a strong, silent one because I have been praying for decades, never hearing a word or being moved by the Holy Ghost. When I would attend Mass, my God drank all the wine from the chalice and never presented the Holy Eucharist. The sermons were about Nebraska football, about the promise of tomorrow. The only lesson I learned was to never hit a girl, taught on a drive in a beat-up white Datsun truck. I stopped attending church in 1982. God had only enough love for his younger son and 2 daughters. To tell you the truth, I can't say for sure that God isn't dead. They say that your understanding of love is based on your relationship with your mother. Then love must be a monarch butterfly in late June fluttering across the country. If you are blessed, it will land on your arm, wings still for a second, orange bright from the sun, a moment that is over when you reach for it. For there is not enough time for the butterfly to stay. So many flowers to see, miles to travel. Love was never meant for me to have. Monarch butterflies live for such a short time. They say you can't break free from your family's sins. Then our dinner table must be the Last Supper. I break bread as Mom fills the cups. We sit down to eat with a table of 8. Then, hands linked from mother to child, from brothers to sisters, from child back to father. My 4-year-old daughter talks about the butterflies she saw today. Big brother asked her what color they were. She can't remember, so she tells her own knock-knock joke. We laugh, not because of the punchline, but because we are family. Through the echoes of joy, I see that the foundation of faith in God, in love, in family is what I give or don't give to my children.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's special. That really is, my friend.
Thank
you know, you've been writing a long, long time. Has
Yes.
a poem ever humbled or frightened you?
Oh, yeah. There's, in some ways, that there's a couple that courage part takes a big step to take the idea and to get it down onto paper. And there's a couple. There's one that I had thought of. It looks better on paper than it is to read it. It's one when I wrote in college, called Air Jordans and Big Gulps, because I worked the night shift at 7-Eleven and wrote it on the back of a cigarette carton. And it's easier to read on paper because I have these little side notes and stuff, and it's one of those that is just pure emotion, like one of that I would have, maybe told my younger self to look for a form. But yes. It's about the irony of, because I was wearing Air Jordans at the time, and here I am trying to pay for all this and all this stuff, working the night shift at 7-Eleven and dealing, with drunks coming in and stuff, so that I could wear my Air Jordans to this job, and it's just, yeah. So that's just, I am proud of that one, and I actually still have the cigarette carton with the rough draft of that poem on it.
Really?
Yeah, I do. It's in my box of past works. So that's. Oh.
Well, give us some more poetry. Give us some more poetry.
All right. So I actually have another world premiere poem for you, and ironically, it happens to be a breath double again. I didn't actually really notice that when I was kind of collecting that. So this one is, again, that French form, and this is called 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, sky filled with sunshine or rain. The time we have is the same for everyone under the sun. Holds true even if under the moon. Stars mixing with lights from airplanes. We choose the sidewalks we walk, the pedestrians we hit and run, with our curses or blessings. This moment is fixed in the life we breathe into our lungs as we try hard to overrun the heartache, our signature tune, heard under the tick of the time that remains. So that one's a little abstract. I'm going to allow that one to sink in. Yeah. It's kind of that moment it's 2 o'clock somewhere, but yet we're all experiencing that moment wherever that we happen to be or to be doing. And honestly, there's a little sad aspect in there, especially when I kind of mentioned the pedestrians we hit and run with our curses or blessings. Because we still choose. We still actually choose how we interact with the people who we are still actually sharing 2 o'clock with.
Yes, so true. So true, my friend. Yeah. Give me one more before we take a quick break.
Actually, as we had talked about, I have an older poem that I actually wrote in high school. It's actually from first. Yeah, from my first. It's in my first collection from my years, and because I kind of just have a pile here to draw from, and this is one of those cases where that courage part, especially as a teenager, to write about this, and you'll understand here in a second. So this one is called History, 1988. Cheerios from a bag swimming in hard water, cockroaches mating in the powdered milk box. Welfare cheese wrapped in old bread bags. Had no covers to keep me warm. Had no drapes to keep me sheltered. They laughed at me. They said I smelled. It's hard to wash your hair in rusting water. Prostitutes as neighbors, drug dealers across the streets. There are no color barriers because no one sees you if your pockets aren't green. Couldn't drown the fears or smoke the cares away because no one wanted what I had. It's hard to live with the no in nothing. The streets aren't so scary as you watch your dreams float into the drains. You didn't know your garbage was my pillow. I took your Christmas paper and your brightly colored bows, prayed to God to fill them for me. But God had other children to see. Children in pajamas, children under covers, children with smiles. So, yeah, that's in a sense, that's a true story aspect poem. And I wrote that probably in 1989. That would have been my junior year. So I wrote it when I was a senior.
Wow. It was an epic work. You spoke truth. You spoke truth. Let's take a brief break, and we'll be right back. All right, we are back. I'm here with Jamey Boelhower. Jamey, a question for you.
Yes.
You ponder the mysteries of life. Am I correct?
Yes, I do.
All right. Do you believe social media contributes to the well-being of poetry? That's my question.
Oh, good question. Good. Because it's interesting. A little side note, just really quick, because as mentioned, some of my students have wrote some essays about the negative influence that social media has on them, as teenagers and some things along that line. And I think everybody can agree that social media has some negatives to it. But yet, honestly, to a degree, social media, like lots of things, is just a tool. And it honestly makes our world, it can make our world a much more positive place. It definitely connects us. The technology that we have and the opportunities that we have to interact with somebody just down the highway in our same state, all the way to a musician or poet in another country. And I think why we're so attracted to it, to a degree, like you kind of mentioned in your definition of poetry, is that social media gives us all an opportunity to feel like we have said something that somewhere in the universe somebody's going to hear and interact. On a more personal note, the problem is we've chosen not to interact with those messages all the time in very positive ways. So it's really kind of a double-edged sword in that regard.
Wow. I really like your work.
Thank you.
I like it for a number of different reasons. But one reason that I like it, my friend, is that I understand it. All right?
Yes.
How important is accessibility? Should you have to work hard to solve a poem?
So we're in the classroom. We're dealing with some older, like Wordsworth poetry and stuff. And to a degree, there's a little bit of puzzle because of the language, older English or European, and following the rules, of a sonnet maybe or something. And so you have to work through that. But I still think, though, honestly, that I get that there's those barriers, but really lots of poetry still is pretty clear once you actually start to want to read the poetry. And now this is the teacher side in me coming out, just in that sense, like many people, you say poetry and their knee-jerk reaction is like, oh, well, I don't like poetry. And I get that because high school, how it's taught sometimes. But that reaction, really just puts up a barrier for the opportunity for that person to engage with that message, that's our theme a little bit with us tonight. And so they automatically put up hurdles that aren't actually really there. Okay.
Give me 3 more poems. I'm greedy. More Jamey Boelhower.
Thank you. Okay, I have to, your comment, and I appreciate that comment. One of my first reviews of one of my earlier books was exactly that they're like, I like this poetry because I understand it. That it was, that it wasn't, something that they had to really break through.
Well, great minds think alike.
Yeah. So I had to chuckle. I was just, yep. Oh. All right. This is a poem from my latest collection called These Words, Believing in Ghosts. I have a collection of poems that is really interesting that I discovered about myself after a while of observing like a person or a situation. And I kind of they're not specifically odes per se, but they all start and in this case, this poem is to the teen sitting on the front step. And I have about 10 of these that I discovered that I had kind of written. And they're always observations about a person or a situation and things like that. It's just one of those fun things that you learn about yourself as you grow older and as you write and do those things. So this is one of the newest ones, and it's an observation, and you'll kind of understand as the poem goes what's going on with it, and then the twist at the end. So this is to the teen sitting on the front step. I am approaching a 4-way intersection on a summer weekday. Stop signs making traffic hitch and pause as people wonder what the rule is for who goes first. You are sitting on the step of the house on the corner, dressed in all black. Black shoes, black socks, black shorts, black shirt, dark hair. Your arms are wrapped around your knees, chin hiding behind your forearms. Your head moves slightly with each passing car. I turn my gaze back to the traffic. I wonder what is going on. Did you not take the garbage out when asked? Is he drinking already? It's 2 p.m. Did she end it with a text message? Or were you told again how worthless you are? I am now in the stop sign queue, 4 cars to go, debating if I should turn to look at you. Now that I am almost parallel to the steps you are sitting on, I recognize the body language, closed, feet tapping, caged, yet afraid to run. I chance it. Our eyes meet. I can see the red highlights around your eyes, feel the hate expressed through the "what are you looking at" expression. We break our glance at the same time. I feel guilty that I can't change anything because I've sat there on my own step. I push the gas pedal down, crossing the intersection, glancing into my rearview mirror. I see you are still sitting, slowly becoming smaller as I head to school to be certified by the Red Cross so I can save a life.
Wow.
Yeah, honestly, it was like, that's a true, it's a moment. I think I had to wait till I actually got to school to get that, like, jotted down. And I some of my poems or those things like that, I like trying to capture the honest, powerful moment that we're living.
Yes.
And so, and I would just as that side note, like that first one to the old man gardening, during the pandemic, that's another one of those, that kind of hit that, just that observation of our everyday existence.
Wow. You're a writer. I thoroughly enjoy your work.
Well,
give me two more poems.
Oh, well, the two I kind of got left. One of them is really sad and depressing, so I guess I'll go with that one next.
Okay. All right. Hey, why not?
And then I'll try to end on a positive one.
Okay.
So this is from my book, These Words Believe in Ghosts, and this is called Accessories. What if we wore our pain on the outside for the world to see? On our wrist, a bracelet dangling with charms, concrete mementos of all the names we've been called by friends and enemies. Time-worn charms clashing against each other as we move throughout our day, the clanging and irregular melody of their taunts toward us. We could sport a gold chain around our neck, add a cross or a birthstone or a pearl pendant, something to symbolize the weight of expectations we carry, so heavy we find it hard to breathe. Each day feels like an added link, an added failure, a might-have-been moment. Regrets for things we never learned, to be loved, to trust others, to experience happiness. The chances we never took, and the promises broken, intertwined so easily, wrapping around our vocal cords, until all we can do is speak with sobs in our throats. Our pain can be a set of earrings, loops the size of thoughts spinning around our heads, mixing us up, confusing our direction. A circle is just the same place with more than one step. A set of stud earrings would look nice too. Small diamonds shimmering like puncture wounds to our dreams. Our past looking as if we have spilled salt on the table. A pile of wounds surrounded by single grains of heartache. What if we wore our pain on the outside? Maybe we can turn this torment into beauty, if only the world could just see it. Yeah, so a little bit of an, but it's one of those that, an honest one. We all hide. Yes. We all hide our troubles, our heartaches, and we sometimes hide them so well nobody knows.
Nobody knows. That is so true, my friend. So true.
Okay. So the last one, this one actually is from the book April 2020. And so I don't remember what day it was. I think the writing prompt for the April challenge was dealing with belief. And again, this happens to be a kind of a real moment. that I expanded. So I was walking again, and a moment happens in here, and I expanded the idea. So this is one of those cases where I had a moment happen, but to make the poem, it took a little while once I got home, and tried to tap in to what I was feeling through allusions and things like that. So, all right. So this is called Believe Again. It's early in the morning, but the sun has beat me to the sidewalk. The neighborhood is up. Figures move in kitchen windows, a jogger ahead of me. A new puppy taking its owner on a sporadic walk on the road to the left. Music playing from my earbuds, water trickling down the curbways to storm drains from the last night's rain and sprinkler systems. I enjoy the morning like I have for 42 days now. Each day new, but the same as yesterday. Ahead, I see a massive puddle at the T-junction of Elm Drive and Sycamore. The reflection of trees, mailboxes, and houses move across the surface as I approach, until I'm standing at the edge, and all I see is the endless blue sky. The world I'm in is now below. I pause the music. I wonder, is this a puddle from the wood between worlds? Can Aslan see me standing there? Like a child, I become dizzy with the possibility of magic. Suddenly, the wind pushes at my back as if to say, believe, and jump in. Is this like Platform 9 and 3/4 at King's Cross Station? The water seems to hold a parallel world. Can I call the Goblin King like Sarah did? Is the choice between a red and blue pill just in the heart? For a minute, I stand at the cusp of reality and childhood belief. I bend my knees, just a little. The wind, again, strong at my shoulder, speaks. Instead of pushing me, it brings white petals down from a nearby Bradford pear tree. Like little clouds, they populate the puddle, crushing my own blossoming childhood view of the magical world reflecting at my feet. I turn to face the wind. I am surrounded by the petals. Like a swarm of fairies, they bombard me, covering my shirt, one sticking to my glasses. I feel something inside my chest crack. Another gust of wind, surrounded again in a wave of white petals. I faintly hear a lion's roar. I bow my head in reverence of the moment. I turn back to the path I was on. I hit play. Music fills my head, but my heart takes flight as I step into the puddle, heading home.
Nice. Headed home, which is what we're about to do, to head home, to finish our journey together.
And it's kind of
But I've got one last fun question.
Yes.
One last fun question. As a writer, a poet, to be specific, what would you choose as your mascot or avatar or spirit animal?
I would a blue jay.
A blue jay?
A blue jay.
Tell me about it.
I know blue jays, technically, for those people who know birds and stuff, that they're kind of jerks a little bit.
Okay.
But they are, for all the other colors of birds and stuff, that blue with sometimes that little bit of black on the wings. When I see a blue jay, the beauty and how it can be in the sky, but yet be a part of it, makes me feel like that's what we are. We're all a part of this world, but yet we all have our flight pattern, our little existence. And I love blue jays, and especially on a summer day, and I see and they fly into the sky and stuff. It just, I think that's what I would choose. a blue jay.
All right, very nice. A blue jay. Oh, hey, where can listeners find your work? Where can they find your work, my friend?
All my books are on Amazon. I am an indie author, so I've chosen to use the Amazon. It used to be CreateSpace, but to get my works, up and available. And I have my own author page on Amazon, which connects actually to my personal blog that I maintain and stuff like that. So the easiest place is, to search for me on Amazon.
How can listeners stay in touch with you?
You
said you have a personal blog.
Yeah, I have a personal blog. I am on Twitter. I was an early person on Twitter, and so you can obviously search my name, but my Twitter sign is JDog90.
JDog90.
Yeah, I just never changed it because I was on Twitter that first 6 months that it started, I guess. And at that time, it was cool, to make your Twitter handle that, and I just never changed it.
Question for you. What is in the works for you next?
Well, I did just recently, this summer, I released a Poetic EP, and that's on Spotify and Apple Music and stuff.
Wow.
And I am working on my next Poetic EP. This one will be a little bit longer. The first EP all centered around some poems that dealt with stars. This one is going to be dealing with all the different ways we have our hearts broken.
Oh, wow, Jamey.
So,
well, look, my friend, we've reached the end of the road.
I'm sad.
And I want to thank you. I am so glad that we decided to continue our conversation.
Yeah,
this has been a highlight. Highlight. You'll never know how much it's been a highlight.
Yeah. I've been waiting to hear your answer to that question. I so appreciate you stepping out to answer that, and that was such a powerful answer. I love it.
Thank you, sir. Well, to you, I say thank you, and I wish you a wonderful holiday season. To our listening audience, I'll see you here again on Saturday for Sophia Nas at 3 p.m. So I say good night, take care, and as I share every week, let poetry ring throughout the land. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
You have just listened to the Quintessential Listening Poetry Online Radio Podcast with your host, Dr. Michael Anthony Ingram. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher. And make sure to catch our next episode.